Crendon Street, High Wycombe. This street apparently followed the course of an ancient lane, a pre-Roman lane. And this doorway here with the sundial above it. This was the entrance to a house occupied by Dr. Martin Llewellyn. He was a poet, but more importantly, he was Charles I's doctor and attended to him on the gallows when he had his head chopped off. It's quite a significant place, this, and Llewellyn took away Charles I's gloves, which to some people would make them a bit of a relic. So it's the 100th episode. It was amazing to think I've made 99 of these videos beforehand. Started in May 2015. There were some fantastic suggestions for what to do for the 100th episode, and I loved them all, I really did. But the one that really chimed with me was somebody who suggested, I think it was Roxy, but I might be wrong, was somebody who suggested that I do a walk that related to 100, as in a unit of administration, an ancient unit of administration. And that made me think instantly of the project that I did 13 years ago, 14 years ago with my sister called Remapping High Wycombe, where we formed the Desborough Hundred Psychogeographical Society. But you can see, look, we did membership cards. Here's a Desborough Hundred Psychogeographical Society membership card that we left around Wycombe for our project. There you go. And we issued these newsletters. This is the second one, and this is the one that really is going to form the basis of the walk today. And it's a walk we did in 2005 as the culmination of this project, which we'd been given a couple of grants by the Arts Council to do. In 18th of June 2005, and here's the postcards we put around the town advertising this project. 18th of June 2005. It was quite ahead of its time in some ways, this event. The idea was actually that you would guide me around the town by sending me text messages. Then I would send back video clips from my phone. They'd be put on a screen, and then you could direct me from there. And we did do that actually. It was quite interesting, although we did kind of stick to the route because the delay in getting the messages back was a bit long. But it was a fantastic thing to do. So that is the basis for today's walk. I'm not going to follow that route precisely, I don't think, because I want to add some more onto it. But it felt like exactly the right thing to do, because this YouTube channel started because of that project. I started this YouTube channel to put up some of the videos we made documenting some of the walks, and this is why this YouTube channel is here. It felt like the perfect thing to do to celebrate 100 episodes, bring it back to its roots, bring it back to its origins. So 13 years ago, almost to the day, upstairs this little building here was the headquarters of the Desborough Hundred Psychogeographical Society. That's where we set up our offices for the day, for the significant sites events. It was fantastic. You can see the miles marked on the side of the building here, indicating this is more or less halfway between London and Oxford. And that positioning sort of pretty much defined the town really throughout the ages. And even to this day, I mean, the trains at Marylebone were rammed because the train to Oxford comes through Wycombe. The Antelope always used to be the best pub in Wycombe when I was at college. Very old building as well, naturally said to be haunted. This is said by some to be a mark stone, indicating that there might have been a stone circle here at some point. So this is Castle Hill. In the old books they refer to it as Castle Hill Mount, and some of the more fanciful mythologies of the town imagine this is forming part of a burial mound for a Saxon or a Danish chieftain who was excavated here. And there is an old castle foundations in the grounds of the museum, which is where we're going next. So you can imagine you're walking over the grave of a Saxon chieftain. Castle Hill Mount, the burial mound, mobile phone. It's a great view. Looking out towards West Wycombe, you really see the way that Wycombe sits in a river valley. It's a confluence of two river valleys actually, the Hughenden stream and the River Wye. The River Wye makes its way down to the Thames. You can see Keep Hill Wood dominating the far side of the valley there. And that's another place where there's a pre-Roman camp. And if you can see, look, this is the foundations. What was once some sort of fortification. It was, at the very least, it was a Norman fortification that was built in the 12th century when there was all that upheaval going on, the anarchy and all that. Some people believe it was Roman. Whether that's just the desire to link to that era, I don't know. But this is the castle in Castle Hill.
Our organiser, John Rogers, struggles with contemporary technology. Here out in the Chilterns in 2005, these things still have the quality of the new.
And this is Wickham Museum. Beautiful old flint building. That's kind of typical of the Chilterns, this type of building. Wickham was famous for its chairs. It was called Chairopolis. And if you're a fan of furniture or furniture making, this is the place to come. Wickham is the home of the Windsor chair. It's the Greenway. Well, aside from the very evocative name, this is the site of one of my favourite places in Wickham, one of the most resonant for me anyway. I grew up in a village about 4 miles away. I was born in the hospital here, or in the shrubbery, and grew up in a village just along the valley, along the river. And this is where we used to come, you know, like they say, it was the local town, so this is where you came with your mum to pay the rent, to pay the bills, to go to the dentist. So all the major events happened. Watch Wycombe Wanderers. And then I did my A-levels at Wycombe College. It's now a university. I can't accept that. Apologies to people who went there. But what was great in doing the project was because I've been away for a long time. I've been living away, I've been living abroad when I came up with the idea. I was living in Australia. To find all these things about the town that I never really knew about. Someone who'd grown up here. And the next place is one such place. That's interesting actually. There was a plaque on the house here. One of these houses here was where the great poet and composer Ivor Gurney lived. He wasn't from Wickham, he came here to be the organist at a local church. And there was a plaque on the building, it seems to have been taken down, which is a shame. I think it was the house there on the left. And this is where Gurney did some of his most beautiful and sort of poignant compositions. And Gurney was a great walker. Walked all these hills, walked back into London. And I've got a project I've been wanting to do for a long time, celebrating the links between Gurney and walking and Wickham. This is Wickham Cemetery. Various generations of my family on both sides buried in here. But there was also a pre-Roman burial urn found here, possibly Bronze Age. Some people think this was also the site of a fortification as well. You can see the views it's got, are tremendous, aren't they? And this footpath basically becomes what is known as a coffin walk. In fact, it is called Coffin Walk. It's where people would bring the coffins down from the villages around to be buried. And you get a good sense of the shape of Wickham from up here. We might go through those fields on the far side on the way back. Lots of really lovely memories coming back doing this walk. Because it was the first time I've been given any money to do some creative work. Really, we got this amazing grant from the Arts Council to do the project called Remapping High Wycombe. So it was great to come out and do these walks and document them and be paid. It seemed like a dream come true, you know. This is interesting. One of the sites on this walk I did 13 years ago was, I'll put my finger there, you see those new buildings there? Well, that used to be Compare Broom and Wade. And at the other end, I think, was Harrison's stamp factory, where they used to make the postage stamps. But it looks like the whole thing now has become, I think, it's student accommodation. Now that, when it was an engineering works, that was where everyone worked. Everyone in the town worked at Broom and Wade at some point or other in their lives. And it's where they wanted me to go and work when I was 16 at school. You know, they gave me the application form, which I refused to fill out. But that's a kind of marker of how the town's changed, I suppose, in that time. It's also believed that Robert Louis Stevenson, Treasure Island, Robert Louis Stevenson, said that he walked along this path when he did one of his walks out through England. A lot of people used to get the train out of London to Wickham and walk from here. It was a real hub for walking. That's why if you buy old walking guides, I've usually got a sense that there'll be a chapter on Wickham, or they'll mention Wickham in it. It's kind of like the gateway to the Chilterns, really. Back down into the valley now. Look how steep it is. And we're going right down into the bottom of that, then back up out again. And we're going to be doing that a few times. Yeah, so this view here is completely changed since I last did this walk. There's a massive old engineering works there, and now it's those flats. Already you can see this is profoundly changed. I mean, your roundabout wasn't there. That enormous great Morrison's wasn't there. Wow. This is the only way I recognise this, is because this little stream bed here. This, I believe, is the Hughenden stream, and the footpath ran alongside it. This is brand new. You can see that they've only just finished it.
Were these factory buildings built or modified during the 1950s?
Well, in the 50s, it was the biggest. It was probably the biggest employer in the town by the 50s. So maybe it would have been expanded then.
Yeah.
I'm determined to walk the path I walked all those years ago, and not the new footpath on the other side of the road there where I'm supposed to walk. It's a good example of how these developments play tricks on you. Look, there's the footpath there. We can follow the old footpath. Fantastic. It's amazing for me to think that this student accommodation has been built here for the college where I did my A-levels. It's kind of a sobering thought, isn't it? Yes, and here we go. This is the little footpath where I walked with Nick and my dad and Jerry and Mike. One of the reasons we did that Remapping High Wycombe project, or actually the reason we did it, is because they were doing a massive new town centre redevelopment, and we wanted to produce a parallel project mapping how these kind of changes alter people's perception of place. And that's where psychogeography came in really handy as a kind of metric for producing results. You know, we do dereves and we did them with groups of people. It was great. You can see how it's an ongoing process. I've come back to re-walk that walk, and the change is still happening. And it really does mess with your mental map. You know, it really confuses you. I want to say this was Harrison's stamp factory, where all the postage stamps used to be printed, where my auntie worked for many years and met her wife. But I'm not 100% sure.
You really have a sense of it being on the edge of the Great Midland Plain here. This is a different sort of town to anywhere in London.
Yeah, I did get that wrong. I think that pile of rubble up there and these new build houses, I think that was Harrison's stamp factory. This is crazy, isn't it? So here you go, here's a real feature of the Chilterns. Red kites. Ginormous birds of prey. Magnificent beasts really, but they were nearly extinct when I was a kid and there was a breeding effort to bring them back. And it's been so successful, they're all over the place. So here it is. Harrison Stamp Factory, where they used to print the nation's stamps. It doesn't even look as though they've really referenced its past in the naming of it, which is a bit of a shame. Hughenden Park. It's part of the grounds to the home of Benjamin Disraeli, Queen Victoria's Prime Minister for many years. One of the most famous Prime Ministers really, Disraeli, isn't he? This is one of the views Disraeli would have had from his stately home or walking in his grounds. He once said, words to the effect that of this view, that wherever you look, all of this is history. I don't mind telling you, really hot today, clambering back up that hill. Got a bit of a cold as well, it's really taking it out of me. But this is amazing, isn't it? What incredible weather. Wow, isn't it magnificent? So this is Hughenden Manor. It was bought by Disraeli. I don't know if it was built by him or not. You can imagine all the people that would have visited here. Queen Victoria almost certainly would have done. So you imagine her sitting out on the lawn, passing the time of day with Disraeli. And that's where I've got to get to now. See that patch of grass and the parkland on the far hill. I've got to get up there. Wow, this is a magnificent path leading back down from Hughenden Manor. Hopefully back down into the valley and then up again to the Disraeli Monument. So here we go. Back up the hill again. It's punishing walking in the Chilterns. That's why people around here are made of sturdy stuff. So that's the Disraeli Monument nestled up there in the woods. I feel I need to go there because it's been on all the walks that I've done. All the versions of this walk that I've done have all taken in that monument. Initially I did this walk in 3 parts and that was the common denominator. So I've got to walk up the hill, the side of that wood to the top, and then going to drop down on the other side and then up the other side of the valley. I'm going to be knackered by the end of this. This is called Tinker's Wood, which is such a great name, isn't it? Well, that was quite hard work coming through that wood, but it was worth it just to get here. I'm going to sit underneath the monument, finally have a rest, have some lunch before pushing on. Of course, this monument here isn't a tribute to the famous politician and novelist Benjamin Disraeli, but to his dad, Isaac Disraeli. Benjamin Disraeli's never really, I don't think he was that popular in Wycombe. He tried to get elected as the MP 3 times and failed 3 times. I think he became MP for Maidstone in the end. Now back down through the cool shade of Tinker's Wood. Got a few options going forward. I haven't completely made my mind up. I know I'm going to skip West Wickham. We were there last year in September. I'll link to that video below. So I've got no desire to go back to West Wickham. The question is whether I do Desborough Castle or not. But I definitely want to push on east and walk to Beaconsfield. You never want to be dogmatic with your walks, really. I don't think that's a lot of fun. Unless there's a really good reason to. I'm trying to think of one. I'm guessing that's a mobile phone mast. But around this part of the world, it could equally be part of the Ministry of Defence Communications, because there's a number of military installations. Some of them are relics of the Cold War and put out of use. Some of them are still active. So there are some radio towers in the area that link together those sites. Stevenson Close, Could be a reference to Robert Louis Stevenson walking through this way. Who knows? That's a fantastic view of the valley that encases Wycombe. Looking across there, I think, to Desborough and Castlefield. Hopefully I can get up there to Desborough Castle, if I can find it again. It might be in the middle of that wood. So I don't know if you can see the green dome of the church there in the bottom right hand corner, the wood behind it. That's Desborough Castle, an Iron Age earthwork. So I think we are going to try and get up there. It's complicated because these roads are just like a zigzaggy pattern and they go around in circles, but we'll do our best. Not only is this one of the best views you're ever going to get of Desborough Castle, but it's one of the best views in Wycombe. Look, we pan around here, look all the way up the valley to West Wycombe, up that way. Should be able to see the Golden Ball somewhere. Now you could say we're moving into one of the most important parts of this walk now, really, Desborough Park Avenue. And that's Desborough Castle up there. And this walk themed around the idea of the 100, the 100th episode, a walk around or through 100. And this is the Desborough 100. What I neglected to mention at the beginning is that the Desborough 100 is one of the famous Chiltern Hundreds. I think there's still a position in the Houses of Parliament, or the Houses of Lords, which is called like the, I don't know what it is, like the Leader of the Chiltern Hundred, some sort of honorary position that's still held to this day. I think often like ex-Prime Ministers hold that role. And here it is, the beautiful River Wye, or River Wick, the river that gives the area its name. Wickham, Wycombe. I grew up in a street called Wye Road. It's a beautiful little river. Hopefully we'll be seeing more of it later. This is interesting. Chair making museum. Craft village. As I mentioned earlier, Wycombe was famous for its chair making. Chairopolis they used to call it. So here we go up. Yet another hill. I would say it's the last of the day, but I know it's not. Wow, seriously out of breath. But it was worth it. Here we are at Desborough Castle. Sat in the middle of a housing estate. An Iron Age earthwork, or at least Iron Age. And it's believed that it sat along a Bronze Age trackway, which cut along the kind of dry ground at the top of this valley here, and brought people from the national trackway, if you like, the Hughenden Way. The long distance ancient trackway that led from the coast down to Stonehenge and Avebury. There's a break at Bledlow Ridge, and there's a path that's now been lost really, and that was what we were doing on our project really, was trying to reclaim and retrace these old trackways. And some of the old books mention Desborough Hundred as being, Desborough Castle I should say, as being on that trackway that led through here and then across the top of the river valley down to the Thames at Bourne End. And there are artefacts, burials, coins, earthworks, all the way along this side of the valley. There's a Roman villa. So we really are stepping back in time. You can see the outer trench. It's really, really, really impressive embankment, isn't it? I've got to clamber up there now somehow. This soil is really loose because it's like flint and chalk. So it's really hard to clamber up. What are we going to see on the other side? Oh wow, it's really beautiful. Some of the old Wickham antiquarians posit that this is where the Desborough Hundred moot would meet. They would meet here at Desborough Castle. Other people say it's more likely they used to meet down in the sort of centre of the town, where you've got the church and that market square now. I love the idea of the people from the area all gathering for the 100 moot here. It's quite romantic vision, isn't it? So maybe this is where we should have a formal gathering of the Desborough Hundred Psychogeographical Society. In some ways this would be a fitting end to the walk, but I've got a substantial amount of distance that I want to cover yet, although I am absolutely knackered. It's about 27 degrees today. It's really hot. You can see up there, you can see the radio mast on the hill up there. That's where we were about an hour ago. Up another bloody big hill. I think this might be the penultimate hill of the day. It is beautiful up here though. So this is called Tom Burt's Hill. Often you'd hear it said locally Tom Burt's Hill, but it's Tom Burt's Hill. Apparently legend has it that Tom Burt was a local man who found a crock of gold on this hill. Good story. Unlikely, but good story. Here's the brazier where they would light the beacon fires when there were important events, or when there was news or an invasion they thought was threatened and they need to muster people, all sorts of things. And this is a fantastic view back into Wycombe town centre and across to the hills on the far side where we walked earlier. So we've done a loop all around the edge of the valley. So there we have the gatehouse to Wycombe Abbey School. It never was an abbey. It was just a very big house that at one point belonged to William Sherborne, I think his name was, who was Baron Wickham. What a great name. And significance of Baron Wickham was that he was the Prime Minister of Great Britain when he granted independence to the American colonies. So there you go, one for my American viewers. It's almost the home of American independence over there. So here's some of the buildings of the Abbey School. Now it's just a very expensive, exclusive girls' private school. During the war, this is where the American Air Force had their bomber command. Because the American Air Force had a big camp here, Dawes Hill, RAF Dawes Hill was actually an underground US strike command, European strike command during the Cold War, very important installation. But they also had their main school there. So I've met a lot of American people over the years who actually were here with military families, and this is where they went to school, a lot of times travelling out from London to go to school in Wycombe. We used to play them at football as well. Funny. Oh, bloody hell, they really tried to, you know, make the old Wycombe College a bit more fancy. Now it's a university, but that's basically my alma mater, that place. That's where I did my A-levels. I loved it there. Two of the best years of my life was there. It was really wonderful. There we go. Plaque on the front of the school. It's a William Petty, Lord Sherborne, Prime Minister from 1782 to 1783. Not exactly a very long reign, but at least he got to make some history whilst he was there for that year. Here we are, the Rye and Holywell Mead. Well, actually, divide that in two. It's a holy well. It was once the site of pilgrimage, would you believe? I think due to miracles performed by St Wulfstan. Rye really is Wycombe's playground. I'd always come over here in the summer. The whole town comes out to play on days like this. Oh no, it looks like the swimming pool's closed at the moment. calling it Wickham Rye Lido now. This is where I learned to swim. Some of my earliest childhood memories are at this swimming pool. It's funny, you look at it now and it looks really small. Of course, in my memory it was huge. It would be throbbing with people. It would be so exciting. This is where we come in the summer. There's the River Wye. And we're going to stay fairly close to this until we get to the brilliantly named Loudwater, and I think we'll turn up into the hills again. I think that's the old railway bridge. They used to connect Wycombe to Marlow. I think it used to run through Woburn Green and Bourne End. It's the train my dad used to get to return to the army in Germany. And this is the sewage pipe, I think. The sewage works along here. There's a really lovely book about the River Wye actually by, I think it's called Charles Rangley Wilson. And the book's called Silt Road, highly recommended. Feels like we've had the first spring walk and then the first summer walk in quick succession. This really does feel like a summer walk, doesn't it? It's so beautiful today, really, really beautiful. So this is all new. None of this was here when we did our project, which finished 13 years ago. I'll leave links below, by the way, to various materials. There's a book you can download for free, or you can buy a copy of it if you want. There's lots of videos you can watch, all sorts of stuff. The other thing that Wycombe was known for were its mills. Lots of different mills, mainly paper, but also various types of wood refining, but it was famous for paper mills. And this housing development here, I think, is built on one of the bigger of those mills. I think Rye Mill, perhaps. But there were lots of mills all along this little stream here, all the way down to its confluence with the Thames. Some kids in the river. Where I brought my kids down here when they were little. We went to where the river runs through Woburn Park, where I spent all my childhood summers. And both my kids were straight in that river, no hesitation. In they went. I love kind of coming through a sort of suburban housing estate to a little bridge across the stream and into a park around this time of the day in the summer, as much as I love sitting on a hill with a beautiful view. There's something very peaceful and relaxing about it, reassuring. Here at the moment, having a rest on a bench. So we're going to come across the mead and we're going to work our way down to Loudwater here, and then we've got a couple of options. Basically we're going to Beaconsfield station, which is up there, so it's taking one of these paths and get into Beaconsfield. So that should be a really lovely end to the walk. You can see here the river runs parallel to the mighty A40. It's interesting, this idea of home. In some ways that's where the Remapping High Wycombe project kind of came from. Because neither me and my sister have lived here for a number of years, me much longer than Kathy, and but still it's interesting, isn't it? The place where you grew up, the place we come from, does exert a powerful hold over you, doesn't it? It's funny being here today with these sort of different feelings, different memories and associations. But of course my home is elsewhere now. My home's in London, in East London. These kind of like business parks are a real symbol of the Thames Valley. No cycling. You'll see in a moment why that is slightly redundant advice. This footpath is heavily overgrown. I don't know what kind of bike you'd have to be riding to get down here. Having said that, I did used to ride a bike along here, and it was a racing bike, a really old knackered racing bike. It's great though, isn't it? What a majestic footpath that just goes on and on behind these back gardens. It's fantastic. Welcome to Loudwater. Funny old place, Loudwater. It's where my mum grew up, in a prefab. So along the A40 now at Loudwater, towards Wycombe Moor. I'm supposed to walk in the evening with my old man in the winter. Sometimes bring the dog for a walk in a big circuit, walk up here. And I have a massive dilemma here, because I really fancy stopping for a pint in a pub garden. I know if I do that, I won't make it up through the fields to Beaconsfield, so that's kind of effectively the end of the walk. On the other hand, the problem with Beaconsfield Newtown is there's no pub. Oh man, decisions. Wycombe Moor, properly on home territory now. This is taking me right back to my childhood. So that used to be the Mother Redcap pub here on the A40. I used to have quite a scary sign out the front. I think the Mother Redcap is a figure from folklore, isn't she? And it was like a kind of woman with a witch-like gold chrome with sort of warts on her nose, a big hook nose with warts on it, and her sort of claw-like hands. It was quite unnerving. I spent a lot of time in there throughout my childhood. Final hill of the day, White House Lane. Here we go. And we're honing in on Beaconsfield Station now. We're going to take a nice bucolic route for a little bit anyway. So this is where I used to come through with my dad. And this is where he would cut down the stems like this. The old man would have had that down. And that's the kind of thing we would have used to make spears and swords and bows and arrows with. So that wood on the far side there, that's cutthroat wood. See, back then this was a cornfield, I believe, or wheat or corn, where we used to walk across there and around there, go up into cutthroat wood, where there genuinely is a Dick Turpin's cave. If you think, it runs just beside the A40. There's a cave in there where Dick Turpin's said to have hid out. So it's about 7:20 now, hour till sunset. And you'll have heard me say on previous videos, I'm out somewhere and I say, this reminds me of the kind of landscape I would walk with my dad around this time of day. Well, this is that actual landscape. This is it. It's these fields and these hills and these woods behind me. These paths. And they're ingrained very sort of deep within you, aren't they? They never leave you. Many days throughout my childhood walking here. So I think I'm going to carry on a bit further. I can loop round. It means I miss the pubs in Beaconsfield Old Town, but it's such a glorious evening, I don't want to give it up. This is another place that really resonates with my childhood, as it would. You can imagine coming under here when the trains are going overhead. Just got chased off down the lane by a pack of puppies. If you're going to get chased by a pack of animals, let them be a pack of puppies. Sun setting over the brow of that hill. I nearly didn't take this route. I nearly decided to walk up the A40 to Beaconsfield Old Town to make sure I can get a pint, but God, I'm so glad I did. This is amazing. I've run out of water and I'm just fantasising about drinking a can of ice cold lemon Fanta. Oh, I can taste it. So thank you so much for coming with me on this epic walk, the 100th episode. And thanks not just for coming on this walk with me, but on all the others. You know, you're one of the main reasons I keep doing this, you know, this connection, this community that built around the videos. It really means a lot to me, so thanks again. What an experience it was today. Sorry if it was a bit long, actually. I've shot more video than I've shot like 2 videos worth of video. I ran out of water about an hour ago and I arrived in Beaconsfield parched. Nothing was open, there's no pubs. But this bar, Revolution, not only is it open, but it serves Sierra Nevada on draft. It's like that scene from Ice Cold in Alex.